What an absolute stunning finish in the end for Quetta Gladiators. Just the kind of game that the HBL PSL needed. And Hassan Nawaz with all the heroics. He's the man of the moment for Quetta Gladiators, hitting that 6 over deep backward square. And Quetta win, a cliffhanger, jubilation all round in this camp, because it was quite nervy towards the end. When you look at this game, it was rather had its share of twists and turns. But Nadeem Umar, look at his smile. It tells you a story. What a game it was, and a well-deserved win for Quetta Gladiators. Hello and welcome to Pitchside. Now, exactly the kind of game that we needed in this HBL PSL. An absolute cliffhanger, and Quetta winning it courtesy some brilliant batting by Hassan Nawaz and some poor fielding by Islamabad United as well. To talk all about that, I've got a very, very special guest in studio with us. It's Amir Suhail as well as Abrar Ahmed. Abrar, thank you so much for joining us. सबसे पहले तो आपको बहुत-बहुत मुबारक हो. इंटरवल पे आपसे बात भी हुई थी और आपने कहा था कि ये हम कंफर्टेबली चेस कर लेंगे. तो अच्छा चेज हुआ, बहुत मज़े का मैच हुआ. तो पहले तो मैं आपसे ये पूछूंगी, कितनी खुशी है जब क्लोज मैच कोई जीतता है, तो वो एक और ही फीलिंग होती है.
क्लोज मैच की हमें तो इतनी खुशी नहीं हुई क्योंकि ये हमें वन साइड जीतना चाहिए था. बट जो मैच आवाम के लिए चाहिए था, जो क्राउड के लिए जो ये मैच होते हैं उनके लिए मज़ेदार होता है. आप लोगों के लिए मज़ेदार था तो आप लोगों ने एंजॉय किया, बट हम लोगों ने उस तरह एंजॉय नहीं किया क्योंकि जिस तरह का टारगेट था तो हमें इजीली चेस कर लेना चाहिए था. ये आमिर भाई भी बताएंगे. कुछ टर्निंग पॉइंट थे. रेली रोसो का रन आउट हुआ, उधर चैपमैन एक शॉट मार के आउट हो गए. तो मुझे तो ऐसे ही लग रहा था, जहाँ 80 पे हमारे 2 आउट थे, 9 ओवर अशारिया 4 गेंदें हुई थी, तो मुझे तो यही लग रहा था कि ईज़िली चेस हो जाएगा.
ठीक है, नहीं वो आपकी बात ठीक है, मैं मानती हूँ कि फ्रॉम अ टीम पर्सपेक्टिव यू वुड हैव वांटेड कि जल्दी फिनिश हो जाता. लेकिन मेरा ख्याल है थोड़ा बहुत HBL PSL में भी तो इस तरह का मैच होना चाहिए. यू नो, वी हैव सीन ओवर द इयर्स बड़े क्लोज मैचेस हुए हैं. लेकिन चले हसन नवाज़ के ऊपर पहले थोड़ा बात कर लेते हैं. यंगस्टर, पहले भी हमने देखा है, न्यूजीलैंड में भी उन्होंने बहुत अच्छी एक इनिंग्स खेली थी. उनको कितना कॉन्फिडेंस मिला होगा, उनको क्या कहा गया था यू नो गोइंग इन व्हेन ही वाज सेंट इनटू बैट, बिकॉज वो आखिरी ओवर में मैच फिनिश करना आसान नहीं होता.
हाँ, जहाँ तक मैंने हसन नवाज़ की आपने बात की ना, जहाँ तक मैंने हसन नवाज़ को देखा है, वो थोड़ी अटैकिंग क्रिकेट खेलता है. जिस तरह 2 हमारे आउट हुए और जिस तरह उसने सेंसिबल इनिंग खेली, मैच को लंबा किया, जिस तरह सिंगल वो करता रहा, तो मुझे तो बहुत खुशी हुई. जिस तरह वो सिंगल लेता रहा, मैच को लंबा करता रहा. बट एक सिचुएशन यहाँ तक आ गई थी कि जिस तरह दूसरे एंड से विकेटें गिरती रही तो बहुत मुश्किल हो गया था. और उसके बाद आखिरी ओवर में जिस तरह हमें लक ने फेवर किया, तो कहीं ना कहीं हमें लक ने भी फेवर किया, और फिर जो उसने फिनिश किया तो सारा क्रेडिट उसी को जाता है, हसन नवाज़ को.
अच्छा, आप मुझे ये बताओ कि जब आप आखिरी ओवर में बैटिंग करने आए तो क्या आप हसन को ये कह रहे थे कि खुदा का वास्ता मुझे ना सामने आने देना, या उसको क्या कह रहे थे?
आमिर भाई, मैं तो यही कह रहा था कि बॉल ऊपर लगे, जिधर भी लगे, मैंने 2 भागना है. मैं देखूंगा मुश्किल एंड पे जब जाना हो, रन आउट मैं खुद होऊंगा. आपने रन आउट नहीं होना, आपने ये 6 बॉलें खेलनी है, 2 छक्के मारने और पार्ट टाइम बॉलर है. मेरे कहने का मतलब ये था कि वो बॉलर नहीं है जो ओवर कराने आए, वो पार्ट टाइम बॉलर है. तो उसने आपको 2 छक्के खा ही लेने, क्योंकि आपने 20 ओवर यहाँ बैटिंग खेल ली है, और वो उस तरह का बॉलर नहीं है कि आपको पक्की यॉर्कर मारेगा या इस तरह कुछ करेगा. तो बस उसी में उसको कामयाबी मिली और लक ने भी फेवर दी. और
बात है, वैसे उस प्रेशर में दिमाग चल रहा था.
I was just going to say कि it's quite commendable that you kept your cool. You know, एक वही बात होती है कि हमेशा बहुत आसान नहीं होता आखिरी ओवर में आके आप पता हो कि जी मैच बिल्कुल करीब पहुंच चुका हुआ है, तो आप अपने आप को जिसे कहते हैं ना सेल्फ कोचिंग करना, कि थोड़ी सी अपने आप को काम डाउन करना, या कोई ऐसा होता है, एक आपका कोई प्रोसेस होता है कि अपने आप को काम रखने के लिए?
हाँ, अभी इस सिचुएशन में तो मैं गया था, मैं तो काम ही था, सामने वाला काम नहीं था. बट जिस तरह मैं पावर प्ले में बॉलिंग करता हूँ, तो मैं यही करता हूँ कि बैट्समैन को देखता हूँ कि क्या सूरत हाल है, फिर लंबी गहरे सांस लेके काम भी होता हूँ. बस उसके बाद अपनी बॉलिंग करता हूँ. बट ये जो सिचुएशन थी हसन नवाज़ के लिए, क्योंकि मैंने हसन नवाज़ के साथ 2 साल KPL वगैरह क्रिकेट भी खेली है, वो आमिर भाई छक्के बहुत लंबे मारता है, तो मैंने बोला इसके 2 छक्के ही लगने, हम मैच जीत जाएंगे. मुश्किल था, थोड़ा सा बॉल ग्रिप हो रहा था, तो लक ने फेवर की, जिस तरह मैंने पहले भी बताया. तो उसके बाद उसने 2 छक्के मार दी.
एक और चीज़, आपकी बॉलिंग लाइनअप ने आपको सारे मैचेस जितवाए हैं, पहली दफ़ा आपकी बैटिंग ने जितवाया, लेकिन आप समझते हो कि आपकी बैटिंग आपको कन्विंस कर रही है कि बड़े मैचेस में जाके ये लंबे रन्स करेंगे?
आमिर भाई, मैं तो बहुत उम्मीद करता हूँ, जिस तरह हमारे 4 ओवरसीज़ है, चैपमैन है, रेली रोसो है, कुशाल मेंडिस है, फिन एलन है, अगर ये जब खेलेंगे ना तो ये एक वन साइड मैच कर देंगे। इनमें से 2 लड़के भी अगर खेल गए ना हमारे, तो फिर हमारे पास हसन नवाज़ भी है, फ़हीम अशरफ, वसीम जूनियर, वो भी थोड़ी बहुत बैटिंग कर लेते। तो मैं तो उम्मीद करता हूँ जब ये खेलेंगे, 2-3 मैच भी खेल लेना ये लोग, तो ये मैच को वन साइड ही करेंगे।
ठीक है, फ़हीम अशरफ का बड़ा अच्छा फॉर्म नज़र आ रहा है, आज भी उन्होंने बड़ी अच्छी बॉलिंग की, पिछले कुछ मैचेस में भी नज़र आ रहा है। तो कितना कॉन्फिडेंस मिलता है जब आपके पास एक ऐसा एक्सपीरियंस्ड ऑलराउंडर ऑप्शन हो, जिनके पास इतना एक्सपीरियंस हो और वो परफॉर्म भी करें?
फ़हीम भाई की आपने बात की ना, अगर आपकी फ़हीम भाई की अगर बॉलिंग 19-20 भी होती है, बट पिछले 3-4 मैचेस से वो बहुत अच्छी परफॉर्मेंस दे रहे फ़हीम भाई, जिस लाइन और लेन पे वो बॉलिंग कर रहे हैं। और प्लस पॉइंट फ़हीम भाई की, जब अगर आपको ज़रूरत होती है वो रन भी बना के जाते हैं। तो फ़हीम भाई एक ऐसे प्लेयर है, आप उसको कभी सोच नहीं सकते कि फ़हीम भाई जैसा प्लेयर अगर आप बाहर ले के कभी कोई बाहर बिठाए, तो फ़हीम भाई आपकी वो बात ठीक है कि जिसके पास भी होगा तो वो यानी एक स्टार प्लेयर है हमारे लिए। तो
बिल्कुल स्टार प्लेयर हैं, आप भी स्टार प्लेयर हैं और
कोशिश करता हूँ।
नहीं, सब हमारे स्टार्स हैं और उम्मीद यही करते हैं कि इसी तरह जो है क्वेटा ग्लैडिएटर्स परफॉर्म करती रही। बड़ी खुशी होती है कि जब आपके यंगस्टर्स जिस तरह हसन नवाज़ हो गए वगैरह को PSL में परफॉर्म करते हैं, यही उनके पास अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ हैं। बट थैंक यू वंस अगेन फॉर योर टाइम। अब मैं आपको रोकूंगी नहीं, आप जाएँ और अपनी टीम के साथ ज़रूर सेलिब्रेट करें। आमिर भाई, आप यहीं पर रहें क्योंकि हमें आपकी तज्ज़िये की ज़रूरत है और ये तज्ज़िया होगा ब्रेक के बाद। सो इट्स टाइम टू टेक अ शॉर्ट ब्रेक एंड व्हेन वी कम बैक वील बी हैविंग अ क्लोजर लुक एट दिस गेम एंड प्लेनी टू टॉक अबाउट बिकॉज इट वाज एब्सोल्यूट ब्लॉकबस्टर स्टफ। डोंट गो एनीवेयर। An absolute thriller then in the HBL PSL, and this is how things went. Islamabad United making 157 for 9 in their 20 overs. Mohammad Nawaz, he was prolific with the bat, 49 of just 34 balls. Fahim Ashraf once again impressive with his lengths, taking 4 wickets. And then in response, it was the Hassan Nawaz show. He basically took Quetta Gladiators over the line. Scintillating stuff, 64 of just 41 balls. Quetta Gladiators winning this nail-biting finish by 2 wickets. Back on pitch side and plenty to talk about in this game of HBL PSL. I've now been joined by Mark Butcher on pitch side. Butch, firstly, just the kind of game that this league needed, and just, exciting stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And right before the Karachi-Lahore playoff tomorrow as well, so it's the perfect time for it. It was a brilliant game. It had everything. Pitch had a little bit of something in it, so it wasn't just a sort of like a batter's slogfest. You had to kind of play in an almost classical style in order to sort of succeed out there. Hassan Nawaz was absolutely sensational. You had brilliant catches. You had 3 drops in the last over. It had a little bit of everything for everybody, and it was one of the great games, not only of this HBL PSL, but of many others that have gone before it as well. And we needed it. It was a real tonic for us at this stage of the tournament, and a real tonic for the Gladiators, who have gone 4 from 4 in Lahore.
Absolutely, they've got the points as well on board. Winning 4 of 4. A few butterfingers in the Islamabad United camp towards the end, Amir, because they had their opportunities.
Well, they squandered it with impulse, didn't they? They had the game by the scruff of neck, but eventually dropping those 3 catches cost them big.
They cost them big indeed. And you're talking about just generally how this game went. It went right down to the wire. That 20th over was perhaps the turning point of the game.
Well, it was extraordinary. Mohamed Shahzad had not bowled an over in the game. Very first ball, Hassan Nawaz sticks it straight up the chimney, and for some reason he didn't let Kyle Mayers taken it. He would have landed right in his lap. Irshad then drops the catch, the next ball. The next one disappears out of the park. This one goes up the chimney again, and we think, okay, keeper's got this, no problem. Irshad decides to stick his hands in it, and it goes on the floor. 3 catches dropped, and then the very next delivery disappears out of the park. Match won by 1 ball. Saviv was absolutely losing his mind. He couldn't even celebrate, but those two could. What a game, what an innings, what a finish.
Well, there's no shortage of drama in that last over. It had a bit of everything, and of course, but the heroics of Hassan Nawaz cannot be forgotten. Mohammad Nawaz was also playing in this game, but he was playing for Islamabad United. But today it wasn't him; it was Hassan Nawaz who was the player of the match.
Yeah, what really impressed me with this innings of his, he played the situation very well. We all know that his natural instinct is to tonk the ball, but he curved that. And then he realized that he is destined to win this game for his side, and he did.
It was certainly a great innings from him, Amir, and it's always nice to see a youngster like him sort of come forward and score runs. We've seen a bit of him, scored that innings against New Zealand previously, but this is going to give him a lot of confidence.
It raised quite a few eyebrows when he was demoted to batter number 6 or 7 for his side, because he was opening for Pakistan. But I think that has taught him something. He now knows how to move away from his A game, and he is looking to play the situation quite well, and I'm so happy to see him doing that.
He's only 22, but just talking about, age-wise, he's got plenty of time on his hands to really develop and evolve his game.
Yeah, he's just got the 30 years on me. I was thinking about this. A couple of guys, actually. There's a 22-year-old and a 21-year-old tonight who are going to have sleepless nights for 2 very different reasons. Mohamed Shahzad's only 21. He got to bowl that last over. Could have been the hero if he takes the catch, but in the end loses the game, so he won't be getting any sleep tonight. And then, of course, Hassan Nawaz, who won't be getting any sleep tonight either, because that was a sensational knock. A real coming-of-age sort of innings in T20 cricket. Hadn't batted at number 4 before in the HBL PSL, and just he took over when there was collapses going on around him, senior players disappeering at the other end. When Fahim went, you're kind of thinking, well, that's it, the game is up. But he just got his head down and said, if I'm here at the end, we win the match. He's got some amazing shots, as they all do, all these young players, but having the brain power and the mental capacity to see through a situation like that was absolutely superb.
It was indeed absolutely superb, but it begs the question, did perhaps Islamabad United have more options when it comes to bowling that last over? There was obviously Mohammad Shahzad, but they had Kyle Mayers, and was it the right bowling option for them?
Well, if you wanted to go with the experience, Kyle Mayers were there, but captain made the choice, and he almost won the game. He dropped the catch, and then a couple more were dropped. But what I had a problem with, every ball there were 3-4 people gathered around him, confusing him. At times in a pressure situation, too much information can be confusing, and you could see the nervousness on his face. And we all knew that a couple of hits is going to win the game for Quetta Gladiators, and it eventually happened.
You clearly could see that Salman Ali Agha in that post-match was very frustrated with the dropped catches. Is it a case of pressure? In just 1 over, you've had 3 drops?
Yes, absolutely. Shahzad could have been the hero, as I said before. He had 3 opportunities to win the game for the side, and so he didn't bowl a bad over, to be honest with you. But your luck runs out if you don't make the luck for yourself by dropping the catches. But what I would say is that I wouldn't, if I was Islamabad United and Salman Ali Agha, I would not be looking at what happened in that last over for why we lost the game. I'd be looking at 59 dot balls in this game, 61 dot balls in the game before, and why you're not sort of maximising the opportunity to make more runs in the first innings when you bat as the reason why you lost it. It's testament to their fighting spirit that they stayed in it right until 1 ball remaining in the match, because they've got fighters out there and they're reigning champions. But But if you're going to bat like that, then you're not going to be reigning champions for a second year, because in 2 games now they were slogging, not picking up opportunities to score runs in the first innings, and on both occasions ended up probably 20 to 25 runs short.
You know, when they had the set batting order, they were scoring more than 200 runs every game. And since they have started to tinker with the batting order, things are collapsing for them.
That's true. I mean, we've seen a lot of experimentation sort of happen in that particular camp. But like you rightly pointed out, in the initial stages, you saw them score over, 200 runs. And this time it's a few too many experiments happening, Amir?
A bit too many for my liking. Because once something is working for you, you have to stick with it. Like I said before, that okay, you know, you ring 1 or 2 changes according to the conditions where you are actually competing, but you cannot make wholesale changes and expect your team to win consistently.
Perhaps it's time for them, Butch, to revisit their batting strategy. You know, we keep sort of coming back to that because there's no shortage of resources. You look at that lineup and, you know, they had Heather Ali coming really further down the order. So they do have options. It's just perhaps a matter of really sort of revisiting the approach.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Carl Mayers at the top has great pedigree in terms of ball striking, but he's not exactly somebody that'll, you know, he ended up playing more shots than the runs he made in the 2 games that he's played. And you've also got Andre House who played at the top, who's made 80 and 40 batting at the top of the order. He came in at number 5 and looked all at sea. So, you know, they've mixed things up. They've made life much more complicated for themselves than it needed to be. And listen, this game of cricket, it kind of bites you if you play around with it too much. They made 15 changes in 3 games. They went 5 from 5. They've now lost 3 from 3. And, you know, all of a sudden the momentum was all with them. They had a bit of a break, etc. But the momentum was all with them. And now they're sort of scrambling a little bit. And, you know, that is not a good thing to carry into the playoffs by any stretch. They should still make it, obviously. But you know, they've made life unnecessarily difficult for themselves. And I know they might be backing up for players that are that might not be with them come the playoff times. There'll be some overseas players disappearing and going home. However, I think you cross that bridge when you come to it, and just keep making sure you maintain the momentum, keep winning, keep playing good cricket, because now they've got more questions than answers, and they didn't have that situation before. And
they have created a situation for themselves that they might not be part of the playoffs.
Right.
I mean,
they'll make it. I mean, there's no chance.
I mean, if they lose a couple of games and then Peshawar Zalmi.
Yeah, I mean, Zalmi have the opportunity to finish perhaps on 10. It could happen, but I think that's very, very unlikely. But what you do is you lose the momentum of the good work you did in the early part of the tournament.
Well, I think it's a good time to have a look at the points table, because remember, it's the top 4 that will be qualifying for the playoffs. And now what's happened is that Islamabad United has been taken over by Quetta Gladiators, who are on 11 points. And you've got Islamabad right behind. Then there's also Lahore and Karachi on 9 and 8. And there's Peshawar Zalmi, who won their previous game, so they're sitting on 6, and then Multan with 2. So one thing is for sure, that this table is still very much open. Peshawar is playing Multan next, so they have a chance to get 2 points on board.
It's the loser of tomorrow night's game that will start looking over their shoulder towards Zalmi, I think, because, you know, the Qalandars will only then have 1 game left. Kings will only have 2 games left. So that's the loser of that one then starts to panic about what's coming up behind them a little bit.
Absolutely. We spoke about all these butterfingers and lots of drops out there by Islamabad United, but there was a period in the game when they had things under control, and we saw a brilliant take by Jason Holder. Time to have a look at the safe hands for today.
Yeah, this was absolutely stunning. And at this point, Fahim Ashraf, 112 for 6. Holder diving low to his right. Huge hands, huge man. It was a brilliant catch, and it would have been fitting for Holder to have ended up on the winning side. Sadly for him and his hands, it wasn't to be.
All right, great game of cricket then. This is exactly what we needed. Quetta versus Islamabad. All the twists and all the drama, definitely entertaining all of us today. On that note, we'll take a short breather and see you guys on the other side. back on pitch side, and what a great win by Quetta Gladiators. We spoke about how this table now is wide open because plenty of teams have this opportunity to get into the playoffs, and now Quetta Gladiators are leading the charts on that table. I've now been joined by Dominic Cork and Waqar Yunus. Corky, we were talking about how good Quetta Gladiators was in terms of just sort of, you know, really availing the opportunities that came their way, that last over thrilling finish. But when you look at that side, is there any room for improvement in that batting or bowling? Because we're now entering in that phase of the tournament where you need to be constantly improving.
There's always going to be room for improvement. Of course you want that. You know, you reach the summit, you get to that top place, and you're then giving yourself 2 opportunities to get through to the final. I want to see one of their senior batters go all the way through, whether they're setting a total or whether they are obviously trying to chase it down. And obviously Riley Rousseau was run out. There was an easy single there. It wasn't his fault. But somebody like a Riley Rousseau, who haven't probably seen the best of him this PSL, but he has the ability to win games single-handedly. So I want to see the senior players go through. But I like the way that they play their cricket. I think, you know, they got away with it tonight. I think, if I'm honest, I think Islamabad should have won the game. They got away with it, and you know they're now at the top. And
Islamabad allowed them to get away with it, Waqar, because it's been now 3 back-to-back losses for them. A team which is looking really good on paper and has been very good in the start of the tournament suddenly has started to lose. What's happening?
Look, Lahore never suited them. Even if you go in the past, they've struggled. Away from home. In Islamabad, they're the best team. They don't let anyone win, which we have seen. And who thought that they will leave that first number 1 spot after winning the first 5 games? So they have to really be cautious. They have to be very, very, very careful. You know, now the table is sort of opened up a bit, and before this, Peshawar Zalmi would have been thinking, are we out of the tournament, or we're still in? Now they feel that they got a chance. They win their 3 games, the remaining 3 games, and who knows what is going to happen. So, yes, Islamabad going back to Pindi and playing their last couple of games there. So they'll probably be relieved leaving Lahore. But yeah, they didn't play good cricket.
Well, amongst the positives, at least for Islamabad United, Sahibzada Farhan has been scoring some runs at the top. He's able to set that tone that we've seen from Islamabad in the last few games. They've been decent at the start and things have sort of fallen apart thereafter. But time to revisit some of Sahibzada Farhan's boundaries.
There was one game, previous game, where he struggled a little bit, but again, back in his good form. He scored so many runs this season, and he plays on both sides of the pitch. The bouncer have really troubled him, but today it was a different ball game. He really hit the ball nicely in the middle of the bat.
Well, if it was Farhan at the top for Islamabad United, it was Mohammad Nawaz at the back end who was able to score some runs and get them into that competitive total zone. Time to look at some of his sixes.
Yeah, you just said it. It was clean hitting, 5 sixes. Always easier in that final 5 overs when you give yourself enough time to assess the pitch, assess the pace, pick your area, execute it. He's a dangerous player, and he gave Islamabad a chance to get to that total. They couldn't defend it.
Well, happy for Quetta Gladiators. Of course, they're getting that winning momentum behind them. But Islamabad United, they need to, get their act together because, like you said, it's crunch time in the HBL PSL. From, we spoke about their fielding, Waqar, the fact that it's been poor and perhaps they were under pressure. But, I mean, also their approach, their batting approach. A lot has been spoken about it. So many dot balls. We spoke about it during the interval as well. I mean, surely that is something that would be a point of discussion for them in that dressing room.
I don't know about that because they speak very openly how they want to approach this tournament, and they're just going to go one way, hit the ball, see the ball, hit the ball. But if you're playing on these sort of pitches, you got to think. You got to really think hard. Now, losing 3 games. And are they going to carry on playing like that, or are they going to be a little watchful? Are they going to make these many changes, which we saw in the last few matches? It was hard to read how many changes they made in every game. So stick to one team, because you're getting into a business end of the tournament, and give opportunities to people and give them confidence that they're the one who's going to win them the tournament. Otherwise, if you keep changing and chopping, things will get more difficult for them.
Right, we're obviously talking about, the amount of runs that have been scored in this HBL PSL. Mohammad Rizwan is at the top for Multan Sultans, but Saibzada Farhan, once again, he's been positive for Islamabad United. He's made 320 so far. So great going for him, and it augurs well for Islamabad United going ahead into the remaining few games. A quick look at the wickets as well, just to have a look and see where the standings are in terms of the bowlers. Let's have a look at the wicket-taking bowlers. All right, there you go. Most amount of wickets for Jason Holder, right at the top with 15. Hassan Ali right behind. He's been in some fine form. And then Fahim Ashraf as well, with 12 wickets. He's also been in great form. Remember, he was under a lot of criticism overall coming into this tournament. But I think it's perhaps time to have a look at some of Islamabad United's wickets for tonight.
Well, they had a good partnership up front, but after they lost the first, Abrar was wonderful. Again, after a long layout, Munro was given the opportunity. He missed out, and the skipper went without scoring, just scooping. It was nothing short from Agha Salman, and that's where it all went downhill from there. Saibzada Farhan, who batted pretty nicely, playing across the line, not good enough. House there, and Fahim Ashraf among wickets once again. He bowled good lines, good lengths, a perfect length which was required on this pitch. I mean, I'm very impressed by Param Shehzad also, because he is just getting better and better with the time. He picks up wicket, he bowls great lengths and great lines, and an extra bounce for Jemison there, picking up a wicket. So wickets were falling on a regular interval. Last run out.
Does it get unsettling as a player when there's constant changes happening and you're playing in and out? I mean, just, again, reference to Islamabad United, we saw Haider Ali bat down the order today as well. So there's a lot of changing happening. Does it bring some kind of instability in terms of role definition?
Maybe a little bit. You want clear thoughts. You want your players to have clear thoughts. You want them to adapt as well sometimes. So I worry too much about changing orders. Team selection probably is for me, and I'm reading I'm hearing the reasons is because some of their players may not be available later on in the playoffs, so that's why they've given other players a go now. But I'm a big believer is when you've got a winning formation, don't change it. It's simple, you go 5 from 5 in Pindi. I know they've not got a very good record here in Lahore, but literally I just think keep that sort of selection right, and cut them dot balls down. You can't have 59 dot balls. It's just
10 overs.
10 overs, 61 yesterday. I think the average we just had was 42 in HBL PSL. Just too many dot balls for me when they're batting.
All right, then there you heard it. Too many dot balls from Dominic Cork. That's what he has to say about where Islamabad United has been going wrong. Plenty of areas to look at and perhaps reflect upon after this game, because like we said, we're entering the business end of the tournament. On that note, we'll take a short breather. See you guys shortly. back on pitch side and just discussing how good Quetta Gladiators have been. And you saw that jubilation and happiness on the face of someone like Viv Richards, who's been quite the motivating force for them over these last few years that we've seen. Time to have a look at some of those refreshing moments of the day.
It's just great to see because I was on commentary with Mark Butcher and Amir Sahel. There's Wakar Yunus in the back, and just look at Viv.
Corky, just watch that.
Hang on, here now, watch. Look, hands on your head. When have you ever seen Viv Richards react like that? Ever? Even when he got the bat in his hand, you could see what it meant, not just to players, to owners, to the crowd, us in commentary, but it was absolutely breathtaking last over.
I've never seen him putting his hands on head like that. Yeah. Amazing. Great scenes. Good game.
Fantastic game. And talking about fantastic games, we've got one amazing game coming up for you. It's the El Clasico of cricket. I'm talking about Lahore Qalandars versus Karachi Kings, the clash of the Titans. And because I'm talking about clash of the Titans, me and Aruj, Lahore and Karachi, we had a bit of banter. अच्छा ये तो कोई मुकाबला भी नहीं है ना, ये जो गुजरी है यहाँ से कराची की हैं, लेकिन हम तो लाहौर के हैं ना, और जो लाहौर है जिसे कहते हैं जिंदा दिलाने लाहौर, उसका एक रीज़न है, जो दिल और जो हॉस्पिटैलिटी वो लाहौर की है वो कराची की नहीं हो सकती, जो खाना लाहौर का है वो कराची का नहीं है। मैं देसी खाने की बात कर रही हूँ। रूज मुमताज़ मुझे अपनी बड़ी बड़ी बिल्ली आंखों से यूं करके देख रही है जिस तरह अभी मुझे बिल्ली कोई अटैक करेगी इस कमेंट के ऊपर। लेकिन सबसे बड़ी बात तो ये है कि मेरे लिए तो ये घर है, क्योंकि दिस इज़ माई होम टाउन। एंड खाना मैंने जैसे कि बताया, देसी खाना, पाए निहारी, जो इस किस्म के खाने हैं, पराठे।
रहने दें, सुन ली इनकी हमने बात। कराची है, ठीक है ना, समंदर हमारे पास है, सारा सी फूड हमारे पास है, झींगा मछली, मतलब सी फूड ही नहीं है। करते क्या हैं आप?
नहीं, हमें रेस्टोरेंट्स में सी फूड झींगा मिल जाता है।
कराची और लाहौर देखना है जीतेगा कौन,
देखना है बिल्कुल जीतेगा कौन, लेकिन मेरा दिल तो यही कहेगा कि लाहौर।
कराची सिटी ऑफ लाइट्स है। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Always love a bit of rivalry when it comes to Karachi and Lahore, and that's what we have lined up for you. The greatest game of the HBL PSL in just a couple of hours. Tonight at 7:50 p.m. it's Lahore Qalandars. They are taking on Karachi Kings. And remember, it's all to play for, because this is what you're looking at. Quetta Gladiators right at the top. Lahore and Karachi. One is on 9 points, the other is on 8. So like I said, it's a race for that top 4 to qualify for the playoffs. Lahore or Karachi, Wakar bhai?
Of course Lahore, but I'll be just sitting in my lounge, feet up, just chilling, just hearing you guys out and then enjoying the game.
What about you, Koki? Make sure you say the right answer.
I'm going to go Lahore.
Well done.
Qalandars, one person, Shaheen Shah Afridi. I just love watching him bowl. I've watched him bowl all around the world. I think when he's on song, he's unplayable at times, but he's up against the Karachi team, the likes of Warner, Vince. It's going to be a great game, but I'm going to go Lahore.
When Lahore, Karachi is always a great game, and I can tell you that this time the interesting thing is that both these sides are doing really well. You know, Karachi over the years has not done great last few years, but it's great to see that they've picked up some winning momentum. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for your thoughts.
Pleasure.
Once again. It's always a pleasure to have you on Pitchside. We're all really looking forward to Lahore Qalandars versus Karachi Kings. Like I said, it's the El Clasico of the HBL PSL. So plenty to look forward to. All your favorite stars will be on display, and I'm sure that you're not going to miss this out. Until tomorrow, though, it's all that we have for you from here. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye. Not tomorrow, couple of hours later then. See you guys.